Record.
That was quick.
Thank you, Jack. Okay, so we're recording now. Like I say, if you don't want to be on it, turn your camera off. Okie doke. So the purpose of today is to basically give you the background to the fund, what it's about, how big it is, how much money we've allocated already and what's left, the eligibility criteria on you as an organisation to be able to apply, something called subsidy control, which is a bit, it's not the most interesting thing, but it's the law, and you need to confirm something on the application to this effect. We'll talk about complying again with procurement law, which isn't as scary as it sounds, but you've got to do it. Value for money, look at what's eligible and ineligible in terms of money, you know, the grants that we give out. Explain the application process and the timescales with some good sort of hints and in the next bit around, you know, what to say in certain questions and stuff, and particular evidence and information we need. And then just to give you up front what we'll need monitoring wise, which look a lot on the list, but it's actually not a lot overall. And you can feel free to ask questions. All sorts of documents are on our website. I think the link's probably at the end. The ones that are currently there are from the previous round. You can still have a look at them because they won't change radically for this round. But we will, by Monday next, the 23rd at 5 o'clock, we'll have replaced them with all of the updated ones for this round. Like I say, there's unlikely to be very many updates. So, moving on. So basically, this UKSPF, if you haven't heard of it yet, UK Share Prosperity Fund, was the previous government's replacement for ESF and ERDF, European funding, when we, you know, came out of the EU, Brexit. This thing's funded through a particular strand, which is about the voluntary sector, and it's called digital connectivity for local community facilities. The overall scale and the purpose of the fund is basically to improve or set up new IT facilities for the public to use. They can be open access computer sort of drop-in facilities, or they can be computer facilities that you set up for your particular client group, you know, your service users. If you only work with women, or you only work with young people, or you work with asylum seekers, or whatever it is, they haven't got to be like something that's open to everyone in society who can just walk in when they like, although we do encourage those. And it's that, but it's also for your sort of service users. In red, it can't fund just improving all your IT as an organisation. There's got to be a purpose for the public using it. However, because we're trying to make sure we spend in three of the boroughs, Knowsley, St Helens and Wirral, and we don't sort of underuse or give any of the money back, we have got some flexibilities around that. For this round, we introduced them in the last one in St Helens and Wirral, and we've extended to Knowsley in this round, where you don't have to set up like a public use computer room. It can be about general sort of digital connectivity improvements, particularly looking around improved broadband and stuff like that, which anyone who's from any of those three boroughs, I'll check in a bit, because at the end, I'll tell you a little bit more about that. I've got a different slide deck, but the vast majority of it's the same. I'll just tell you the bits you need to know, but I'll put them both online, because if someone's interested from one of those boroughs, they can just go to one set of slides. And in those three boroughs where we have got those flexibilities, if we have more applications, more demand, and we've got money to give out, the public use facilities will be prioritised, because that's what we originally set out to do. We've only introduced these flexibilities to help with managing spend, really. But that's only if they're good applications and they demonstrate the need and the impact and all that kind of stuff. But just to be aware, and for either of them, it can't fund direct delivery costs of like delivering IT training or any other kinds of activities to do with the computers or anything else. It's not about that. It's about the actual hardware, the computers, the infrastructure, the software that's on it and stuff, not about what most grants tend to fund, which is like people's time and costs of delivering and doing stuff. So overall, we aim to update outdated or old, poor quality sort of computers and digital devices. It might be laptops, tablets, whatever equipment that goes with it. And in particular, really, what one of our biggest funding targets is about improving broadband, where you might have poor sort of connections, slow connections now, or you might not have it at all, and you get a new broadband line put in. So that's kind of one thread of it, or similar kettle of fish. But if you've already got something like a computer suite or whatever, it's not enough to meet demand. Well, we can fund more stuff. And really, like, one of the primary things is setting up new ones where there currently isn't something, or there's a lack of provision for where people can go to get online. I'm really keen to support those. And then the other one, again, I've highlighted in yellow, is, well, a new way really is we can fund general connectivity improvements in Knowsley, St Helens and Wirral. So you can apply for between £2,500 and £10,000. You can see here that we originally had 1.3 million in the pot. We have these weird percentage splits across each borough that is dictated to us. To date, we spent the vast majority, 1.14 million. And remaining in the pot is 162,000, which you can see, whichever borough you're interested in, how much is there, which is not a lot in certain instances. So there is quite a bit of interest. It will be competitive. I'm not trying to put you off applying. I want you to apply. But do you know what I mean? We won't be able to give out as much money as we have in previous rounds. Like in the last one, we allocated nearly 350 grand, like double.
Bye. Bye.
Go on. No? Okay. So the ones that stand out to me really is there's comparatively quite a bit more in Knowsley. We haven't given that much out in the last couple of rounds. Comparatively, a heck of a lot less in Liverpool than what we've given out in other rounds, because obviously it's massive borough compared to the others. Likewise, quite a low amount left in Sefton, which has been really, there's been a lot of demand there. But actually, comparatively, a lot of money left in St Helens compared to what we've given out in previous rounds. And Wirral, even though that was lagging behind from the last round, we allocated a lot of money in the last round, and that's now only got 20 grand left then. So it's up to you what you want. You can apply for the full amount, you can apply for a smaller amount, whatever you need to do, whatever it is you want to do. But it's a competitive process, and we score them and whatnot, and then pick the ones that we think are best, really. So over the last 4, need to update that, says 4 funding rounds. And forget the top line, need to update all of that. We've given out 158 grants to, I reckon there's about 10 or 12 we've had more than one grant. I just haven't updated that top line from the previous funding round slides. 158 grants totaling whatever we said there, 1.14 million. 1.14 million, probably around 140 odd separate organisations. This slide I will update before I put the slides online, but it won't change radically. The flavour of this is just to kind of reassure you that if you're not like a general community centre, even though the majority of grants we've awarded have been to community centres and community hubs that generally have facilities that anyone can come in and use, 60% of the funding has gone to other organisations of all sorts of different types who work with particular types of people in terms of their activity, the focus of what they do and the target groups. So you can see, like, after community centres, these little light blue ones I've highlighted just to show, quite a chunk has gone to organisations that do provide education and advice. Quite a good chunk's gone to organisations who work with specific ethnic people from different ethnic backgrounds, people who work with homeless people, women-focused organisations, and a whole range of other stuff, sports stuff, youth clubs. So don't think it's not for you if you're not a community centre, because it is, or it could be. So in terms of being eligible to apply, you need to meet all of these. You need to be a proper grassroots, not-for-profit, voluntary sector organisation with a public access base in the Liverpool City region, your turnover in the last accounts can't have exceeded 1.5 million. You need to have been in existence for 12 months or more. You obviously need to have a government document or a constitution. It says we always check them out. If you're a registered charity, it's pretty clear you're not for profit and you have an asset lock. Charity, CIOs, but if you're a company limited by guarantee, community interest company, or any other type of social enterprise or whatever, then we need to see your government document, because we need to make sure you're not for profit. We need to make sure that you've got an asset lock, in terms of, if an asset list, you have to kind of give stuff away if you go to business and stuff. You have to have your own independent bank accounts. Can't be paying anyone else to do it for you. And what you're setting up needs to be based in one of the 6 boroughs of the city region. The other obvious thing is, like, you need to be a going concern. So, we need to know that you have been in operation. You've got a financial track record recently, because we have had numbers of organisations who've inquired over the course of the last couple of years who have said, oh, we're still on Companies House, but we've kind of been mothballed for 5 years, and we're thinking we get this grant and we set it up. We're not giving grants to organisations like that, because there's no confidence that it's actually they're going to be used or whatnot. So you need to have a proper sort of recent track record. Our definition of voluntary sector, or voluntary community, faith and social enterprise sector, is organisations run a not-for-profit basis, and they're all those things you'd expect them to be. Constituted group, social enterprise, registered charity, CIO, CIC, CLG. If you're a KIC limited by shares, contact us before wasting your time applying, because we need to check it out. There's different types of KICs limited by shares, but some of them can pay a dividend to the shareholders and that, which we won't fund. So if you've got any queries, email the email address and ask. These are the organisations we can't fund. The usual thing you get with grants. So individuals or organisations where it's run by like one family, like me and my wife or something, we won't fund them. There needs to be that sort of transparency. Can't fund like statutory bodies, housing associations, private companies that limited by shares, they can give dividends to shareholders. It's not about other people passing the funds on, and we can't fund political groups. This thing, I don't know if anyone's ever knows about it from when it was we were in Europe. There was this thing called state aid, which the government's now rebranded as subsidy control, and it's all about government grants and things like that, not distorting competition in the marketplace. It's if you're ever tired, you're struggling to sleep at night, look it up online. It's quite long-winded and a little bit dull, but we have to comply with it because it's government funding. So this funding does constitute a government subsidy. It's not a lot, it's up to 10 grand. But they have this rule called minimal financial assistance, like a route way within it. It used to be called de minimis. And all it means is that you can have up to 315 grand in government subsidies within any 3 financial years, so 2 full ones and the current one. If you've had government subsidies more than 315 grand, you wouldn't be eligible for a grant through this. All you need to do is tick the box on the form to say, I haven't had government subsidies over 315 grand. That's all we need to know. I'm not the government subsidy police. And how would we ever know? We're not going to be delving into your accounts for the last 3 years to see what was funded by what. You just got to be honest. We haven't had anyone yet who said they have had more than 315 grand, which I believe is true, to be honest with you. And if you're thinking, well, how would I know? Strictly speaking, anyone who's given you a government subsidy, a grant, some of the COVID grants where if you've had money to build a building through some sort of government grant scheme or whatever, they will probably tend to be a government subsidy. But the funder should have issued you with a letter saying, this is a government subsidy to the value of X amount. And then looking at your 315 grand, you can apply for up to 10,000 that includes this grant. So, you could have had 305 and apply for 9,000, you know, what, £10,000 more, and you'd still be all right. So it is just a tick box on the form, but it's just to explain to people that you need to confirm it, and that's what it's about. In case you're just thinking, what's that like, which would be totally understandable. Another thing in terms of it, because it's government funding, obviously they're very hot on competition and procurement law, and that we, you know, the money that they give out complies with it. So besides that, makes sense. Get some quotes, you'll get a better deal. We get so many people who apply, you've just put into Google, you know, 6 of these computers and just gone click with the first one, you know. And like, I can tell because when you look at the price, I just Google the same computer. It's the first one that comes up. So shop around, get some quotes. If you're looking to, my recommendation is, right, get some professional IT advice, get them to come in, tell them what you want to do. They'll go, right, you need to do this, 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 and this. I'd suggest getting these computers, blah, 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 and they'll put you a quote together. You can get 3 quotes. You can get a quote off them. You could look up online, do price comparisons. If you do price comparisons online, keep a screenshot of them, because you would need to retain the evidence if it was ever ordered in the future. I don't need to see your quotes. Again, I'm not the procurement police, but I am to the extent of making sure that you're aware that you do need to get 3 quotes if you're buying stuff over £2,500. And you need to confirm on the application form that you have got 3 quotes, or you might not have 3 quotes at that point, but you will do before you're awarded the grant. And just so you're aware that when you talk about this £2,000 thing, it's not, and again, no matter how much we tell people, you'll go, well, my computers are only 500 quid, so I don't need to get them, but they're buying like 10. So they're actually buying £5,000 worth of computers, which means it is over £2,500, and they do need to get quotes. So I know a fair bit about it, but I'm certainly not like a procurement specialist. So I can't give advice, you know, like with my little disclaimer there. But I would suggest that, given that you're only spending up to 10 grand at the most, you would never need to go out to competitive tender for this thing in isolation. You just need to look at, if you use existing suppliers, that you're not adding things onto existing contracts are a massive. So my rule of thumb would be, get some quotes, keep them. If you're online price comparisons, keep the screenshots. Don't just keep the link, because they expire when things run out of stock or the prices change, and just keep them in a folder. Tell us you've got them. That's great, and you'll get a better price. It's as simple as that. So what can you spend your money on? You can spend it on broadband. So if you've got a current broadband line that's not very good and you want to upgrade it to a faster one, you can fund that for up to 24 months. You can fund computers of different descriptions. Think about what you would need for what it is you want to do. In certain instances, PCs might be better. They're often more durable. They're good for like an IT suite environment. But if you've got limited space, you want to move them between different rooms or whatever, you might be better getting a laptop or a tablet, or you might want a mixture of them all. So just think about it. And that's why I will keep coming back to saying, get some advice off someone, and then you'll get what's the right kind of stuff you need. Don't just buy cheapo ones. I'm not saying go and buy like the most expensive computers ever, because we do question that. But equally, we also question people who come back and say, I want 15 laptops and they're £120 each. They just won't last. They'll get absolutely battered. And within a few months, they'll be ground into an alt, or they'll be broken or whatever. So this technical briefing workshop we're doing on Monday, which I advise you to come to, the guy who does that will kind of explain that point as well, amongst a lot of other things. So definitely come to that. It can fund the software licenses you need. So particularly, obvious things like Windows and Office, if you need those, antivirus, if you do need stuff for particular assistive or adaptive technology. And we can fund those licenses for up to 3 years if you pay for them up front, you know what I mean? If you want weird and wonderful software, it's not an absolute no, but you would need to really well justify in your application why you need it. So some people apply and they just kind of go on a shopping spree and go, oh, I want this, and I want this, and I want this, and I want this. And we're like, well, why? What for? They might not have a good explanation. We'll knock it off. However, some people come back and say, well, actually, what we do is we do these kinds of classes with young people, and it's very focused on creative digital industries and whatever. And we've got to have this software because otherwise, what we do is just not going to work. But that's a fair reason, you know. So it can fund software, standard stuff you need, more elaborate stuff you would need to justify. It can fund the kind of equipment you'd expect that you need to go on computer. You might need the background stuff, you know, like routers, Wi-Fi access points, that kind of networking stuff, if that's what you need to improve alongside it. And then the things that go with computers, isn't it? Monitors, mice, keyboards, a printer, things like that. Those things are listed there. It can, we can fund like a security locker as well. You can get different types. You can get fixed ones. You can get ones that are like got charging units in if you're getting laptops, or you can get these sort of security locks that fix the computers to the desks. You can get them for PCs. You can get them for laptops. You can get them for tablets. You can get all sorts of stuff. So things to keep them safe and that you need to make the things work. In doing so, again, we always look at the cost of things. And we've had people who put in, oh, I want this all singing, all dancing printer, come photocopier, come scanner, top of the range, colour laserjet, £1,200. We'll question it and we won't fund it. And anyway, our advice, and the guy will probably say to you on Monday, if it's for like public use thing, get a black and white one, because colour things, colour printers, they just cost you an arm and a leg to run with the ink in the long run. So get a good, solid black and white printer, great. If you ask for the earth, we'll probably knock it back. We can fund, what I've been saying to you, get advice. We can fund the setup costs of, if you get an IT person in to outdo the network improvements, set the computers up for you, install them, that kind of stuff, we can fund those costs. But if you've got an internal person, an IT person who does it, we can't fund staff costs, unfortunately. But the point of that is, if someone's got their own internal IT support, great, they can do it themselves. But if it's an organisation, and there's most of you will probably be in the same boat, who haven't got IT kind of team and work, well, we want to make sure you set it up properly and it's safe and secure and set up right so we can fund that. It can fund the furniture you need for people to be able to use your IT facilities. But again, it's got to be proportionate to what it is that you're doing, and justify it. So if you're setting up a brand new IT room, it's pretty obvious that you need some desks and chairs for people to use the computers. But again, we've had ones where, again, that we've either knocked them back or just chopped them right down, where someone's applied for 10 computers and then asked us for like 30 chairs and 20 desks and stuff. And you're like, what? And what they're really trying to do is kit out the community hall rather than get the furniture they need for the IT equipment. So you can get it, but you just need to explain what you need and be realistic with what you get. So things that can't fund. By the way, online, there's an FAQs document, which it'll still stand. I don't think it'll change. But we'll put the updated one on Monday. And it's got more examples of things that are eligible and aren't, based on questions that people have sent us saying, oh, can I buy one of these? And it's either, yeah, you can, or no, you can't. Or maybe you can, but you need to really explain why. In terms of an eligible expenditure, we can't fund ongoing IT maintenance kind of contracts. So we can fund for a discrete setup bit at the start, but we can't fund something where you're paying them £50, £100 a month to look after your IT. That's an organisational overhead, which we don't fund. Unfortunately, we can't fund, you know, capital building works, decorating or anything like that, where people have said, well, I want to knock a wall through to make this room bigger for an IT suite. Great, but unfortunately, we can't fund it. Or people saying, well, once I've done all me networking and I put the cabling through, we've had to decorate everywhere after it. We can't fund that, unfortunately. Like I said before, we can't fund staff costs of any type whatsoever. You can't fund your overheads, insurance or anything, or like if taking out extended warranties and things on stuff like that. Can't fund the actual delivery costs of delivering training and different activities for the people who you support. And that's on top of the staff costs. So can't fund the staff costs of the people delivering it, but we can't fund like, oh, I want a load of booklets and I want pens and I want God knows what you need to deliver activities. We won't fund that. We won't fund staff training costs, anything to do with volunteers, and we won't fund projects that aim purely at recreational activities. We've had a lot of inquiries and a lot of applications who wasted their time because if they read the guidance, they wouldn't have done it, where they said, right, I want to get a massive big screen or loads of big TVs and projectors, and we want to run film nights for our young people or whatever, or our families, which is a great thing to do. And I can see the need for it. But our fund is aimed at that. It's aimed at getting people online, unfortunately not around recreation and stuff. So yeah, so don't apply things like that. And also, again, we get loads of people asking, we do outreach delivery, we go here, we go there, we do this, we do that. Can we apply for equipment for that? You can, but the purpose of the funding is about improving the digital connectivity of a community facility, and we have to provide an address and postcode to our funders of, building X is now got improved digital connectivity. So if you do want to use stuff for outreach, you can use it for outreach, but you do need a primary base where it would be most of the time. If you were just nomadic and you say, I've got an office, but actually I'm out 100% of the time in all these different places, we won't fund that. But if you've got, you're based in a centre most of the time, but actually on different days of the week and different times you go, you do stuff here and there, that's fine, as long as we've got we can hang our hat off a particular community venue, if you like. So it launches next Monday. Any questions by the 5 o'clock on the 10th? The email address is later. Applications in by 5 o'clock on the 21st of October. So you've got 4 full weeks to reply, which is plenty of time to scope it out, speak to your service users if you don't already have feedback to back up what it is you want to do, to get someone in to come and look and see what it is you want to do, and to write your application. 4 weeks should be plenty. Then that following week, we'll follow up if we need anything, and we will do all the due diligence checks, which we always do. And then over the next month, basically, we've got a team of assessors who are based in the different CVSs, and then we divvy them up, farm them out to them to assess. I also obviously look at them, and Jack and Pat. But anyway, we get them assessed by them, and the way we do it is there's one from the borough that you're applying for, because they will know the borough best, and they may know you best and your community best. But so that it's fair and square, so they're not just batting for their mates and saying, yeah, I want to put them through and not them. We also get it assessed by someone from a CVS from another borough, so they're independent. So it balances it up nicely. And if there's a massive discrepancy, I'll give it to another one to look at, or I'll look at it myself, and then we score them, we rank them, and then it's not an absolute exact science, but we'll look and see, right, what do we need where? We really need something here. There's nothing here. And it might be a couple of points lower than that one, but actually there's loads there. So really the need is here. So, but it's still competitive. So it's not, don't get me wrong, we don't just pick the one in a place where we want it to be. If the application's no good, they won't get through. But where things are close, we might have to make decisions on different things. Then that goes to, then we have a panel meeting, and they talk them through any contentious ones or ones where there was different opinions or whatever. Then it goes to a steering group, and on the steering group we have the chief execs from the local CVSs, we have representatives from the council, one from the combined authority, and a couple of others. So basically, it's not me sitting in my room with Jack and Pat going, yeah, I like them, I don't like them, yes, no, yes, no. There's a lot of people involved to make sure that we're funding things that are in the right places, doing the right kind of things, and we're investing the money wisely. So we'll let you know basically towards the end of November, because it takes a while for it to ripple through. Then what happens is I'll write out to you and say either you're successful, provisionally successful, or you've been unsuccessful. If we give you a provisional award, there is always a list of, there's conditions of grant that you need to do this, this, and this before we'll give you the money. And very often there's a number of queries like, we don't understand this, or why did you ask for that, or you've asked for far too much of this, or the price of this is like, you just know, is like over the top. Or actually sometimes it's, do you know what? You're not going to be able to do it with that much, or the computers you're looking to get, they're going to break. So reassess that. So there's a bit of back and forth, which in most cases takes a couple of weeks. Some people take longer for whatever reason. They might only be voluntary based and they're really busy, or they're on holiday, or whatever it might be. But my aim is to get the money out the door, the grant agreements issued and the money out the door before Christmas. Because this program ends in March, and we need to have got them set up and get the monitoring information afterwards by the end of March, and I'll come on to that in a bit. So basically, launches Monday, 4-week deadline. You'll know by the end of November, you'll have your money by Christmas. You need to get it done by the end of Feb. And if you're in any doubt as being able to do that, don't apply really, because we've got to have it all boxed off by then. So we said about the process and timescales. They'll be uploaded to our website then, on the digital grants page. There's an application form. There's application guidance, which is what I'm going to tell you now in a bit. There's an FAQs document, which is a mix of some of the stuff from today's presentation and a little bit more information. There's an Excel spreadsheet, which has rankings of like different sorts of data around digital exclusion and deprivation. And we also stick up the slides and the videos from these sessions. You need to use that email address to send your applications into, and your support and documents, which everyone always seems to well, not everyone, but a lot of people seem to forget, which we'll come on to in a bit. And equally, if you've got any questions, that's where you post them by the deadline. So these are the things we need with the application form. And I'll come on to them in a bit. The documents, things you need to confirm, and the different sections of the application form. So along with your complete application form, we need your accounts. If you've only just been in operation for 12 months and you haven't got any, we will ask you to give us something, whether you've got internal management accounts or cash flow statements or something. But most people who've been around for longer should have accounts of some form. And your annual report, often they're in the same document, but not always. So we'll need your annual report of whatever type it is. If you don't have one, you'll have to give us a summary of what you've done in the last year, because we need to get a flavour of who you are and what you do and how you've got on. There are sections in the form before you start the writing bit where it says, look, you need, and you need basically insurance, public, employees and contents. And there's a box to tick to say, yes, we've got them, or there's a box to tick to say, well, we haven't yet, but we will have by the time we get the grants. But most people do have them. Sometimes they might need to update the contents to cover the value of what they're getting funded to do, but most of the others are usually in place. Similarly, policies, we need you to confirm. We don't need copies. Likewise, we don't need copies of your employers, of your insurance certificates and stuff. But you've got to have risk assessments and health and safety policy, internet security policy, like a public use one, data protection, safeguarding, and environmental sustainability. The two that we find that people don't have the most is the public use internet security policy, because why would you have one if you haven't already got public use IT facilities? And often people don't have an environmental sustainability policy or statement. We do have two decent examples of them we can share with people to develop their own. So when you apply, if you haven't got one, tick the box and say, no, we haven't got one, but we will have by the time we get the money. And I don't need copies. CVSs can help you with any other policies if you haven't got them, but I would be surprised if any established organisation hasn't got health and safety and risk assessment, data protection, and if you work with children or vulnerable people, safeguarding. Well, you might want to look at your safeguarding policy. Well, you should really, because if there's nothing in there about keeping people safe online, and then you set up facilities for them to go online, you probably do need to look at that and add a bit in about online safety. You've only got to do a bit of Googling to find, examples and whatnot where you can adapt your own. So that's tick, tick, tick. So then coming on to the bits where you're actually writing stuff. Question C4 says, look, what have you done or what will you do to ensure that what you're buying is fit for purpose and provides good value for money? So by fit for purpose, we mean like, what are you buying and why are you buying it? Is it the right stuff for what people want to do? He'll touch on this in the technical tips workshop on Monday. But basically, just explain in simple terms. You know what I start to get more of, which just stick out like a sore thumb? Like chat GPT answers that you just look at and it's just like blah, blah, blah. Very, very formal process stuff. Little tiny social enterprise who says they test the market and they get samples and they do all this stuff. Some of them might do, but I'm pretty sure they don't. What we want off you is like, right, we've got in this IT company, they've looked at it all with us, they've given us a specification of stuff that they think suitable for our needs. We've got 3 quotes, or we've looked online for price comparisons and we kept them. We're getting laptops and tablets because the room we've got is small and we can't have PCs in there. It's a multi-purpose room. Or we are getting PCs because whatever, or we're getting this particular bit of kit because our service users need that because they've got these particular needs. It just, that's it. So it's like, that's why it's fit for purpose. And how do you know it's value for money? Well, we've taken advice, we've looked online, we've done price comparisons, we've got quotes, and we've got the best deal we think we can get. And that's it. We're not looking for like a, textbook university type answer. To be honest with you, I don't really like those anyway. I like the real ones. But don't just leave. Some people put in like 1 line, 2 lines and go, oh yeah, we've looked online or something, and just think, well, surely you must know. You're not going to get a good score for your answer for that. You get other people who've put in applications, you just say, we just know. Been doing it for years. Well, we don't know, So just spell it out in simple terms. Value for money, like I said, the quotes and all that. Little thing there saying the cheapest isn't always the best. Do you know what I mean? So you need to look at the suitability of what you're buying and the durability and the spec. But obviously, if you do go with a more expensive option, you need to keep the justification as to why. But if you are comparing identical like-for-like items, then obviously you should always go with the cheapest quotes, cheapest price. We've got this map. There's a link on the website. Let's see if it works. So what we've done is there's a live version that people can look at, service providers and the public, of places where you can go to get online. There's a live version. We've got like one hidden in the background, unpublished, where we update it each time we have a grants round. So the last round, round 4, we haven't put the ones we funded in that round on the published version, but the one we're putting in this link is the unpublished version. So if you want to be able to demonstrate why there's a need, you can go on this map and you can look at all these different things, and the different colors show where we funded things in previous rounds. Jack, does this include all the existing ones as well, or just the ones we funded through this grants program? You might be on mute, I'm not sure.
Sorry, Joe. It includes all the existing ones if you click on the links on the left.
Right, sound.
Left the filter on for the round 1, round 2, round 3, round 4.
And the ones that were already in existence before we ever started funding people through. Yeah, because there's libraries and that, isn't there? Sound, cheers. Thanks, Jack. So basically, just zoom in and look at your area and you'll find whatever, all sorts of different places. use these toggles. You'll know yourself through your local intelligence, but handy to look at. And you could say, well, here's all the libraries. You might take other ones off, and you can see that, there's all the libraries that have IT facilities. And then you can say, well, right, these were funded in round one, these were funded in round two, three, four. And what you can do, you can use it to your advantage or to help you frame, explaining why there's a need, because, you might look around here and go, God, there's loads of things around there. But there might need to be loads of things around there. Do you know what I mean? There's different communities. Or sometimes it's not as obvious as looking at the map. There might be a big motorway going through the middle, or there could be a river, or God knows what. But anyway, have a look and see what's around your area if you're not already aware of what's around your area. And you can see actually how many places there are people can go to get online now. So have a look at that. Things that jumped out to us, places where there isn't enough, like anything or enough around those ways, Anfield, Tube Brook, Zackley, although we've funded a couple now in those areas, but there's still not a lot. In Knowsley, isn't, there could be more in Kirby and Stockbridge Village, Prescott, Whiston, North Southport, Seacombe on the Wirral. And there's other areas, but often they're more affluent areas, or often with older populations where basically people have got their own computers. But actually, where old, places where the population is older, there is a higher risk of digital exclusion. So anyway, look at the map. It's not a black and white, well, we'll only fund them here or we won't fund them there. You look at it, and if it strengthens your arguments as why you need something, say, well, all right, there's 3 in Newton the Willows. I'm making this up, by the way. But actually, one of them's like 25 minutes walk that way, and one's 20 minutes walk that way, and the other one hasn't even got a bus route. And our service users said we need one, just use it. The other thing in terms of demonstrating the need for your IT project is the Excel spreadsheet. Basically, what it does is there's a tab for each borough, and then it'll say, right, how digitally excluded is it? This is based on NHS data. It's proper been looked into. And the lower the score, the more digitally excluded it is. It gives you an indication of where more people are older. But we don't just fund things for old people, but it is well known that older people are more likely to be digitally excluded. Is the poor broadband, and how deprived is it? And you can look, and again, if you can use it to your advantage, what we don't want in the application is it sometimes people spend the whole question space quoting all these statistics to you about how it's top of this table and bottom of that table and really deprived. And we know that. We know where they are. So it's not like an exercise in that, but zoning on the things that are important for what it is you want to do, and using to your advantage. Or you know what, if you're based in a ward that isn't the most digitally excluded, and it's not the most deprived, well, all right, you can't use it to your advantage. However, you may say, well, we're not in the most deprived ward, but we work with adults with learning difficulties who are not able to go to the local library or community centre to use the computers because they can't handle the noise, or do you know what I mean? Any amount of different things, but just explain to us. And if it's black and white that you're based in a really deprived ward where there's real risk of digital exclusion, say it. Just say on your data we're the top ranked ward in Knowsley or whatever. And if not, just explain why there's a need for what it is you're proposing to do. Because if you don't tell us, we won't know why. We can't just kind of guess. And then in terms of using the words, so you kind of look at the map and use anything on that to your advantage. Use the data and use anything on that to your advantage. But then explain to us how have you identified the need. So unless you tell us, we won't know. So if you're applying to upgrade kit you've already got, unless you tell us how you know it needs updating, how are we going to know? Dead simple. You could put, we've got 10 PCs, they're 12 years old, they're dead slow, the operating system won't update, 3 of them are broken. You know, the broadband's really slow. It's only 10 megabits per second. You can do a speed test that easy. And all of our service users have said they're sick of it because it's rubbish. If you haven't got, it's really good if you have got some feedback or some stats from a consultation. If you haven't, just do a quick straw poll with, you know, you can just ask everyone over the course of a week, couldn't you? What do you think of this, this, and this? Backs up what you're saying. So it's not just you going, oh, we want to do this, but there's no evidence from people that they actually need it, want it, or are going to do anything with it. So tell us. If you're looking to increase capacity, again, we won't know unless you tell us why do you need more. It's simple, isn't it? Do you know what? We've currently got 5 laptops and 2 tablets. And regularly we have 12 people wanting to use them at once, and we need 4 more, or whatever it is. Again, that you know, we've got 5 PCs, but actually all of our clients are saying that's great, but really what it'd be nice to have as well as more of a comfortable area where we can use some tablets or something. Just explain it to us dead simply. And if it's a completely brand new thing, that's where you really need to, what I was saying about using the data and stuff we've given you in the map, and your local intelligence and feedback from your community or your service users, why you need it. So it's not just, oh, I want to set one up, but then actually we look and we go, well, do you know what? There's about like 5 other things within 10 minutes walking distance. Why is it needed? That's where you need to explain why. Well, because, and then we'll understand. But if you don't tell us, we won't understand it, and it won't score very well. Looking at the next bit about impact, it's like, well, the one that's got the most word allowance is the one about impact. You don't have to use it all, but I would advise you on all of them as well. Like, don't just put in a sentence or a paragraph, which so many people have done, and then wonder why their applications aren't successful. And you go, well, because you didn't really bother, did you? And I haven't got a crystal ball to guess what the need or the impact is. Tell us. So in this one, all you got to do is just say, well, what are the impact on kind of 3 areas? The main one's really on the individuals and the wider community, but your organisation as well. It's like, well, what's the impact on them going to be? It might be you're going to run training sessions to teach them how to use a computer and improve the digital skills. You know, they'll use it to connect with family and friends, and you know, make them more socially included, get them out the house, help people look for jobs, look, you know, health related stuff, any amount of things. Tell us. But you might be specifically working with a particular group, and it's like, we're working with them to do that. We're gonna do this, and it's going to improve their emotional and mental health. We're going to use it loads for doing job search. We're going to run homework clubs for the kids. Whatever it is you do, just explain. In terms of the wider community, quite simply, you know, we're not looking for anything sort of complicated. There's not a lot around it, and it'll be a place where people can come to get online, or whatever it is. And you as an organisation, you know, it might say, well, actually, it'll complement all these other things we're doing, and might bring more people in to access other services, whatever. So, you know, the biggest thing is about impact on the individuals in the community. But if you can give us a flavour of actually what the spin-offs of it will be as well, they're the ones that will be the best answers, they'll get the best score. And then the next question says, well, okay, so how are you going to record the impact of it? There's certain things that I'll come on to very shortly that we need you to do as a kind of a condition of your grant. But you'll probably want to monitor it in other ways. Now, we're not asking you to go over the top. We're not asking you to do social impact reports and all the rest of it, social value, but some organisations do. But what we want to know is that you are going to look at it and kind of be able to measure and work out, you know, what the impact's been. It's been really good because it's helped this many people to do this and this, and you can take it to whatever degree you want to take it to. But as an absolute minimum, in that answer, I'd say, look, we've looked at your slides, we've been to your workshop. As a minimum, we'll do what you want us to do, but also we'll do X, Y, and Z. Just one sec, someone at the door. Oh, thank you. And then the last bit is, how are you going to let people know about it? So how are you going to publicise it? Are you looking at a particular target group? Jimmy, shut that door, please, mate. I'm on a meeting. Cheers. Apologies for that. The kids getting them from school, phones blaring out. Yeah, so I'm going to publicise it. And again, don't just put on, I'm going to stick it on our socials. Fine that you stick it on your socials. But there might be, but there are more things that you can do than that. And also putting everything on socials, depending on what the type of thing you're setting up, people might not be on socials. And so, there's all sorts of different ways you can do it, can't you? And in that, we also ask things like, out in the next one, we split the questions is, when's it going to be open? Is there going to be any limits on what people can use it for? Who's going to use it? Whatever. How's it suitable in terms of, the people you're working with and accessible and stuff? So just tell us a bit about those there as well. And then we put them all together and then we assess them in like 3 areas, which is fitness for purpose and value for money. So we look at that question on its own, but we'll also look at 2 questions that say how many people use your computers now and how many do you think will use them later? And it's not an exact science, but if someone's asking for 10 grand and saying they're only going to get 5 new users a week, kind of think about it. Doesn't sound like a lot, does it? But equally, we have people who apply and say, oh, yeah, there's going to be 250 users a week. And you think, no, there's not. So be realistic, but we'll marry the 2 together. So fitness for purpose, value for money, need and impact. And then we score those, come to a conclusion, and then we work it out from there. So what we need, like I said, it seems a lot on the table, but before we will give you the grants, the bits in yellow, we want you to review, because you've got to put this in your application, how many people currently use your computer facilities. Some people, I don't know why, but maybe put in unusual figures in their application, either trying to tell us that they get more people thinking we'll think it's great, or they just put the wrong number in, or they haven't looked into it. So we just say, look, just have a look at it again and reconfirm to us, is that right? And if it's not, tell us what it is. Simple. We want a couple of photographs of the room or the facility before you actually do the work and get the new stuff in. And if you're applying for broadband, we'll need a broadband speed test of what it is now, because we'll ask you for it again afterwards, which will be faster, hopefully. Well, it should be. And you can see that we'll ask you for photos after, we'll ask you for another broadband speed after, which within a month of being set up, but by the very, very latest, the end of March. On the broadband thing, you can see there's links there to the speed test, which you might want to use to actually test the speed now, so you can mention it in your application. But at least, at the very least, you can tell us it once you've got your grant, and then you can measure it again after. And the other thing is that this thing, there's a rule in the funding thing we've got, because it is quite heavily focused on broadband, is anything that it's fund's got to be more than 30 megabits per second for us to be able to claim it as an outcome. And obviously, it needs to be faster than what your existing one is, because what would be the point in doing it otherwise? 30 megabits per second download, it's not very quick. So if anyone is looking to get broadband and you're looking into it, or you're getting offered, or you're thinking of going with an offer of something that's 30 megabits per second, just don't do it. Go for something faster. The other things we'll come out and see, the big bit in blue and red needs to be spent within 2 months of you getting the money, or by the end of Feb at the latest. Like I said, I aim to get the money to you before Christmas. We'll come out and see hopefully in March. We will need evidence of spend in the form of basically invoices and receipts to make sure you spent the money. If you underspend, we will come back to you and say, well, you need to either spend it on something else eligible and appropriate, or you need to give us it back. Things do change, but hopefully that won't happen. You do need to keep things like your own bank records and quotes. If we ever get audited, you probably won't, but you might do, and they would want to see that kind of stuff, but we don't want all that now. And like I say, at the end of March, we'll send you a very brief report template. You can make it as short or as long as you want. Like, it can be 1 page, it can be longer. It depends on what you want to tell us. It just says, look, what's the impact been on your users, your community, your organisation? Link it back to what you said you were open to do in the application. And in that, it'll say how many people use it, your computer facilities now. Hopefully, it'll be more than what used them before. And then that's another outcome we can report on. We always love case studies if you're able to get us some, particularly if you can get like a filmed one or podcast or something. We'll do some evaluation. We'll speak to you about that. And someone might want to talk to you about it. We'd really love some case studies. Don't forget this workshop I keep banging on about next Monday. It's 1 o'clock till 2:15. The link's there. But if you do want to go, I appreciate it if you click on that Eventbrite link and just book your ticket, because then I know who we're expecting, and then I've got a record then as well. So that's enough for me. You must be sick of hearing of me. There's our contact details there. I will get these slides emailed out to everyone who's come today, and also to people who booked on, were unable to make it. So thanks very much for coming. If you've got any questions, and if you're from Knowsley, St Helens or Whittle, just hang around for a couple of minutes while I can just, probably 5 to 10 minutes, while I can tell you about those sort of flexibilities we've got in those boroughs. So has anyone got any questions or comments? Was it useful? Stunned silence. Have I put everyone off? No worries, Bev. Does anyone else want to?
That was very useful. I found that very useful. Yeah.
Great, thanks. And do you know what? Dead honest, people who've been to these briefing sessions in the previous rounds are more successful than the ones who don't. Just ignore it and do it last minute and bash your rubbish applications and apply for things that aren't eligible. Hopefully this will help you. No worries, Ali, thanks. And we'll stick them online, yeah, and the guidance documents will be there. So just get you to help you think about what it is you're doing, and don't go barking up the wrong tree and asking for money for things we can't fund and stuff, because it's incredible how many people do.